Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now May 2nd of 2025, and given that the Walt Disney Company is still going through a ton of backlash, not just limited to the box office failure that is Snow White and how there was a lot of drama in the mix between Gal Gadot as well as Rachel Zegler in the mix, but also we have a lot of issues going in to other brands. We know that they are struggling with the live action remakes beyond Snow White. A lot of them are either on hold or canceled, all because of that movie's failure and a whole lot more than that. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, with many studios within the film industry, within the Hollywood bubble, now beginning to just shove Rachel Zegler to the wayside one by one, and Zegler now is only getting very minimal roles, specifically roles by studios that really make low-budget movies, low-budget projects, independent films, stuff like that. She doesn't seem to be getting anything substantial. She's in an upcoming movie with Marissa Tomei. That's not going to be anything major. It's actually, not even close to becoming, of course, an actual movie. They have a ways to go before until it releases. But what's interesting here has a lot more to do with how Rachel Zegler is taking the overall criticism now by apologizing in the worst way possible. And you can only imagine exactly how this is all done. Let's get into the overall aspects of this and exactly what's going on here. Now, one thing about Rachel Zegler is that we know that she did not take the criticism of Snow White very well at all. We all saw how she reacted. We all saw how she behaved toward not just the critics, but even fans of Disney that left the Snow White character, alright? People were just fed up. There was a large boycott against this film, especially by families even. However, with the Walt Disney Company still dealing with the Snow White backlash, even after the film made its way out of theaters, for the most part, we're talking like 95% now, one major development going on involves more to do with Rachel Zegler, where she recently tried to apologize in the worst way possible toward both her critics and even fans of Snow White that walked away from Disney. Rachel delivered the following: I think that in this day and age, especially in 2025, when you get the opportunity to play a Disney princess and you hold different ethnic backgrounds, one should expect the loud minority of toxic critics to focus only on that. And that is where I apologize for how I acted and everyone criticizing my work and my ability. I think I realize now that it can be very difficult, but I realize now that to be a true strong woman, perhaps if you have something that you have to say to that loud toxic demographic, then the best way to handle them and to show them who's successful is by remaining silent. So I am sorry, I would say, for how I could have taken those comments better than I did. Part of being a powerful woman and a brave leader, just like Snow White, is to face your issues as the bigger person. Though I do regret my behavior at times, I still stand by my opinions with no regrets, and how I perceive that very same toxic demographic. Because in 2025, we need to focus more on women and the value of women. It is quite unfortunate that we are still dealing with these issues in the film industry that can be very harsh toward women. Just look at all the powerful female roles that we have seen over the past few years get attacked over and over by the same exact demographic that obviously aren't educated on how important diversity, equity, and inclusion truly is in this country. So I think what I will say is this, that we truly have to focus how this industry can do better instead of embracing cancel culture, because it's the very same toxic demographic that supports cancel culture and even celebrates it. That's the number one issue that we have to get past and that we have to handle, and I have dealt with those experiences myself. As an actress, you learn basic human emotions, and it took me a while to realize that the vocal minority that makes a lot of noise, well, they really don't matter anyway when it comes to your business or your work. Guys, let me just stop right there for a moment. Now, this is probably the worst apology, and it really kind of rings back to Kathleen Kennedy and how she apologized in very odd ways years and years ago for The Last Jedi, you guys may recall, where it was like this really bizarre type of apology where they kind of apologize and then they just backtrack and then they hop back onto what they believed in beforehand. Again, I mean, there she says it. She believes that by being the better person, by being a stronger woman, is by remaining silent and keeping your words to yourself. Look, I mean, you can express yourself all you want, but do it in a professional way. I mean, the way that she did it was absolutely horrendous. We all can agree on that. We all know that she doesn't really mean what she's saying right now. She's really not sorry. I think at the end of the day, This is all nothing but a way for her to tame the backlash, to save her career, to perhaps, you know, have at least a very small chance of getting a major movie role out there, to gain sympathy from some of the studios out there that have just pushed her to the wayside. I don't think any of these studios are going to fall for this absolute, you know, phony behavior. That's basically what it is. Because we've seen this with Kathleen Kennedy, we've seen this with Meghan Markle, and many others out there. Not just actresses, even actors too, by the way. It's not just limited to actresses. But we know that across the board in the film industry, we've dealt with very similar situations like this in the aftermath of a major backlash of a specific project. It's always like this, you know, a very shaky type of apology where they sort of apologize and then they just backtrack in the worst way that you could imagine. However, this is where it really hits peak levels of cringe. So she goes on to elaborate further. Well, they really don't matter, she says. Your aspirations or goals should never be hindered by those very same individuals, and that's why I am sorry to those and to myself that I didn't handle those types of people in my way better. But regardless of that, there is a growing issue with sexism in this industry that needs to be vanquished. We have so many talented actresses in this industry that I personally know that just go unnoticed, that come from all great backgrounds, that deserve all the recognition in this business. But I think that we need to really improve as a society. We seriously do, because everything has gone too far. Both men and women have to improve themselves, I feel, to get with the times. To get with the times, she says. Alright? Now, a lot of these actresses and actors, you know, Alec Baldwin has said this before. We've also heard this from even Julia Roberts, that, yeah, you gotta get with the times, you gotta become more educated. We have to deal with the uneducated citizens in this country to deal with the ongoing issues in society. This is the same exact trope that Rachel Zegler is going on, and those 3 terrible apologies that were actually, you know, spewed out of her mouth there obviously meant nothing. You know, the whole I apologize for my behavior and how I could have handled things better, blah, 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 blah. It means nothing, alright? Now look, as far as I see things, this is nothing more than a coping mechanism by Rachel Zegler. She knows that whatever movie roles that she's getting right now is going to go so unnoticed. That's exactly why a lot of the trades were hyping up this Marissa Tomei movie, co-starring with Rachel Zegler or vice versa. And really, if you actually do your research, this is actually going to be somewhat of an indie movie, a low-budget film that's really going to not even be seen by many people out there. In fact, it may be seen in selected theaters at maximum, and that's about it. It may very well even have a budget of $2 to $4 million. That's how small this movie really is going to be. It's nothing substantial at all. So overall, I would really like to hear what everyone has to say about Rachel Zegler. Again, I think that after Y2K, after Snow White, after Shazam, and all these other films that just did not work in her favor for obvious reasons, Hollywood is giving up on her. They want nothing to do with Zegler anymore, especially after Snow White, especially after all of the comments that she made both politically and creatively toward Snow White. Overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about all of this below in the comments. Anything to do with the Disney situation, Snow White as a whole, with the box office, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.